I entered an online Pokemon Champions tournament, and this was structured as a best of one until top cuts, which means there's literally zero room for error. Now, normally for an online tournament, I would bring some kind of fun, wacky team, but I want to win. So I'm bringing a super boring generic team. First, we got Mega Aerodactyl. Not only is this Mega ridiculously good, it's also my favorite Mega and my second favorite Pokemon. But we're just rocking the usual standard Tailwind, Protect, Rock Slide, Dual Wing Beat set. Then we got Basculegion, or as I call him, the Demon Fish. And we have the usual choice scarf style in this guy. Next, we have our Focus Sash, Max Offense, and Max Speed Pelipper. And I have Hydro Pump over Weather Ball because I want as much damage as possible. We, of course, have All Reliable Guard Chomp, but this is kind of risky because I'm not running Protect on this guy. We're going for straight offense with Earthquake and Stopping Cantrip running Soft Sand. Then we got Sneasler. This guy is so boring. We're running that lame-ass wider close combat set, but it's just so damn good I couldn't pass it up. Lastly, we have this absolute monster Arcalodon. I love and hate this thing. It's only cool when I use it, but I hate fighting against it. Under Tailwind in the ring, he's unstoppable. And there's our team. I know it's a lame meta, but you can't deny that these six are a great group of Pokemon. And now I'm ready to take my first online tournament victory. Round 1 starts, and unfortunately, I am also up against a similar rain team. I did not realize how weak my own team was to Arcalodon. Now, don't forget, this is best of one until top cut, so there's no room for error here. I have to win. The battle finally starts. My opponent leads Pelipper and Basculegion, and I led Basculegion and Sneasler. And this actually works out perfectly because I didn't bring my Pelipper. My plan was to brace my opponent to bring their Pelipper while I don't bring my Pelipper, then use their rain against them with my Arcalodon. Just stay with me, I promise you this is gonna work. So I swap out Sneasler and bring in Arcalodon. My opponent swaps out Pelipper and brings in their own Arcalodon. We flip turn their fish and do some good damage, and we go right back into Sneasler. They flip turn my Arcalodon and we get a free stamina boost, and they go right back into their Pelipper. Honestly, the perfect turn 1 for me. Now we can get active. We get off a huge close combat and do max damage to the Arcalodon, also activating our Unburdened ability. Then we go straight for an Electro Shot and get a special attack boost and try to nuke that Pelipper, but it lives on 1 from its Focus Sash. Then Pelipper goes for a Tailwind, and Arcalodon fires Electro Shot, but thanks to our wider, Sneasler is able to live it. We swap Arcalodon for Basculegion, and we protect our Sneasler. Pelipper Hurricane, but Sneasler blocks it, and Arcalodon does huge damage to Basculegion with Dragon Pulse. But now we are in the perfect spot to win this game. Basculegion takes down Pelipper with Aqua Jet, and thanks to Unburdened, Sneasler is still faster than Arcalodon even through Tailwind. My opponent's last two Pokemon are Basculegion and Gardevoir. Gardevoir Mega Evolves and go for Protect with Sneasler and get off a final Aqua Jet with Basculegion, and it does huge damage in the ring. Gardevoir does take down our Basculegion, but at this point it's way too late for my opponent. Both the rain and my opponent's Tailwind come to an end, and we bring in our Aerodactyl. Then we swap out Sneasler for Arcalodon, and we Mega Evolve our Aerodactyl. Gardevoir protects, and Aerodactyl chews an Aqua Jet from Basculegion. Then Aero knocks out Basculegion with Dual Wing Beat. Then we get up our Tailwind, and Arcalodon finishes the game with Flash Cannon on Mega Gardevoir. And with that, round 1 is mine. So far, I'm feeling good. We kind of won that with absolute, I don't want to say with ease, but you know, I played well. But then round 2 starts, we're against a Sand team plus Mega Floette. And that's when I realized the team has no fairy resist. So my only choice is to hit my opponent as hard as I can. They lead Sinistcha and Incineroar, and I lead Basculegion and Sneasler. And Wider on Sneasler gets used up off rip. Then my opponent swaps out Incineroar for Rotom Wash. Fake out was meant for the Incineroar, but we do get a critical hit on the Rotom. And we flip turn my Basculegion out into our Aerodactyl. That's when Sinistcha sets up a Trick Room. And that's really bad because my entire team's pretty speedy. So I protect both Pokemon to burn a turn of the Trick Room, but Sinistcha caught me lacking and goes for a Light through to heal the Rotom. My Rotom goes for Will-O-Wisp on the Aerodactyl. So I swap out Aero because he cannot get burned. I bring in our Pelipper and get our Raino. The team pot goes for Magic Guide to Sneasler dodges it, but Pelipper takes a huge amount of damage from this hit. Then Sneasler also dodges the Will-O-Wisp. Huge! We go for a close combat and do huge damage to the Rotom, but it just barely heals him back up. But that Trick Room still has 2 turns left. Then they swap out Sinistcha and bring in Incineroar to intimidate our Sneasler. And Pelipper unfortunately goes down to Rotom Thunderbolt. And thanks to that Intimidate, close combat just barely misses the KO on Rotom Wash. We bring in Aerodactyl and go for one more Protect to burn that final turn of Trick Room. The Trick Room is finally over. Now we can do some damage. We Mega Evolve Aerodactyl and Rotom goes for the Protect. But I saw that coming, bro. We Dark Claw the Incineroar for some chip damage and get a poison on him. But then Aerodactyl misses the Rock Slide and Incineroar gets a free parting shot on Aerodactyl. That was like worst case scenario, dog. My opponent brings in their Sinistcha and heals up their Rotom, and they swap out Rotom for Incineroar for another round of Intimidate. And close combat does no damage to the Chop Berry on Incineroar. Honestly, it's not looking too good. Until Aerodactyl crits the Sinistcha with Dual Wing Beat, and we finally took that Teapot shot down. And my opponent brings in Tyranitar. They Mega Evolve Tyranitar, which means no Mega Flow Web. Thank goodness. I protect both Pokemon to ignore the fake out from Incineroar, but my opponent swaps out Incineroar and brings Rotom back in. And next turn, Sneasler just barely misses the KO on Tyranitar thanks to the Intimidate. And Aerodactyl misses the Rise Slide on Tyranitar and does no damage to the Rotom Wash. Then Mega Tyranitar's Rock Slide takes out both Sneasler and Mega Aerodactyl. Now it's all up to the Demon Fish. I only have one Pokemon left. My opponent has 3 Pokemon left. There's a way I can still win this. Basque Legion has to live Rotom's Thunderbolt. That's all we need. We lock into Flip Turn and knock out the Tyranitar as Rotom goes to Thunderbolt. Basque Legion lives on 39. The Sandstorm finally takes down that Rotom, and Basque Legion takes down the final Pokemon Incineroar. We win round 2 just barely. So now I'm feeling a little less confident. Like, we barely won that game. Yeah, there was some Rock Slide misses. We also got lucky with that crit on Sinistcha. But even still, we are 2-0 in the tournament, and the person in first place has a really scary Trick Room team. I don't want to fight that. Round 3 starts, and now we're faced off against the Mega Delphox team. But I'm very glad to see no Intimidate. The battle starts, and my opponent leads King Gambit and Sneasler, while I lead Sneasler and Aerodactyl. I protect both Pokemon because I'm scared of the fake out from Sneasler, and they do go for it on my Sneasler, but then King Gambit goes to the Swords Dance. And just like that, I'm in trouble. I Mega Evolve Aerodactyl and King Gambit goes for a Protect, and I made a terrible play right here. I went for a Tailwind because I thought King Gambit was gonna Sucker Punch Aerodactyl, which he didn't do, obviously. Looking back on it, I definitely should have gone for Dual Wing Beat on the Sneasler. King Gambit blocks our close combat, and their Sneasler goes close combat on my Sneasler and does about half. But their Unburden does activate. Then they swap their Sneasler out for their Garchomp, and we go for a Protect with our Sneasler, which does stop King Gambit Sucker Punch. Then Aero gets off a huge Dual Wing Beat on Garchomp. Next turn, Sucker Punch knocks out Aerodactyl, and we finally take down King Gambit with close combat. But then Garchomp knocks out Sneasler with Stomping Tantrum. They bring in their Sneasler and bring in my last 2 Pokemon, Archaudon and Pelipper. Rain goes up, we only have 1 turn of Tailwind left. They swap out their Garchomp and bring in their Basque Legion. I protect Pelipper to block the fake out, and Basque Legion takes half from Archaudon's Dragon Pulse. But our Tailwind ends, and that's bad. I can get it back up, but I need Pelipper to not get put to sleep by Dire Claw or get fully paralyzed with Dire Claw. Either goes for the Dire Claw, and Pelipper tanks it and does not get put to sleep. We got a huge Electro Shot and finally take down that Demon Fish. And now we are free to get our Tailwind right back up, and with that, my opponent brings in Garchomp and they forfeit. Round 3 is a win. My confidence is through the roof, bro. We are undefeated 3 rounds in a row. We're 3-0 in the tournament so far. But then round 4 starts and we're against that terrifying Trick Room team, the first place battler right now. And this matchup is god awful. Not only do I have nothing for Trick Room, my team has no Fairy Resist. All I can really do is try and knock out the Trick Room center as fast as I can. But my opponent leads Farigiraf and Mousehole while I lead Basque Legion and Pelipper. And there is nothing I can do. That Trick Room's going up. Mousehole goes with Follow Me as I flip turn Basque Legion and bring in Aerodactyl. Then Pelipper's Hurricane knocks out the Mousehole, but at this point I think it's just too late. Farigiraf sets up Trick Room. This is the worst case scenario for me. My opponent brings in Sylveon. I protect both Pokemon, but there's still not much I can really do here. I swap out Aerodactyl and bring in Basque Legion. Then comes double Hyper Voice combo and knocks out Pelipper and does huge damage to Basque Legion. I go back to Aerodactyl, still trying to solve out these Trick Room turns. So I Mega Evolve and go for a Protect, while Sylveon's Hyper Voice takes down Basque Legion. I bring in my last Pokemon, Sneasler. I protect Sneasler and go for double with Aerodactyl, but we don't get a double Protect. Hyper Voice does half to Aerodactyl, and Aero just barely like it from Farigiraf. And Trick Room finally ends. The only way to win now is to go for Rock Slide flinches every turn. But the Sylveon has Quick Attack and takes out Aerodactyl. Sneasler takes down Sylveon with Dire Claw, but it's too late. Farigiraf knocks out Sneasler with Psychic, and we take our first loss in the tournament. Not gonna lie, man, this one stings. Like, I was completely helpless. But I have to take this loss out because round 5 is gonna start any second. Besides, we're still 3-1. That's pretty solid. But for round 5, we're matched against hard Trick Room again. But I refuse to get destroyed by Trick Room again. My opponent leads Hatterene and Rangaroo while I lead Pelipper and Basque Legion. Now, here's the hard part. They're both packing Trick Room, and it's a hard guess to figure out who's gonna go for it. And I, of course, got the guess wrong. Hydro Pump does not knock out a Rangaroo. Hatterene protects our Wave Crash, and a Rangaroo gets up the Trick Room. Hatterene then goes on to solo my entire team with Dazzling Gleam and Instruct from a Rangaroo. I tried to at least get 1 KO, but I still couldn't finish off the Rangaroo. That's back-to-back L. Except this time I got beat by the leads. Yeah, I went from being 3-0 to 3-2. And there's only 3 matches left until top cut. I can't afford any more losses. Round 6 starts and my opponent has Torterra. And no hate to my opponent, but if I lose this game, I'm packing it up, bro. They lead Torterra and Sneasler while I lead Basculegion and Pelipper. Basculegion one-shots Sneasler and Pelipper one-shots Torterra. Great turn 1. My opponent's last 2 Pokemon are Dragonite and Aegislash. Dragonite Mega Evolves, and we do break Dragonite's multi-scale with Wave Crash, but then Basculegion gets nuked by Thunder. Pelipper lands a huge Hydro Pump and almost one-shots Aegislash, and our bird devours Shadow Claw. We bring in Aerodactyl and Mega Ball him, and of course we miss Rock Slide on Aegislash, and Dragonite just barely hangs on. And Mega Arrow just barely takes that Thunder. Then Pelipper takes out Aegislash and Dragonite both, and we secure a W in round 6. Yeah, I'm done playing around, bro. We're going straight to the finals with no losses, and I'm winning this tournament. And that's exactly what I do. In round 7, I play out of my mind against my opponent's Mega Charizard X team and win this round. But in the last round of Swiss, I played like absolute garbage. I got torn to shreds by my opponent's Arcaludon in the rain. I lost the last round without beating any of their Pokemon. Now I'm super concerned. I finished 5-3, bro. I'm not sure I can make top cuts with that. But by the grace of God, we are in the top 8 and move on to the final tournament bracket. And we are, of course, matched up against a Mega Floette team. And now that we're in top cuts, all games from this point forward are best 2 out of 3. Game 1 starts, my opponent leads Finisher and Incineroar while I lead Arcaludon and Sneasler. And thanks to the Intimidate, Unburden activates immediately on Sneasler. Even still, I swap out Sneasler and bring in my Pelipper. My opponent brings a Tyranitar and resets the rain for Sandstreak. So now my Arcaludon is trapped into Electro Shot, and my opponent gets up the Trick Room. They swap out Finisher for Incineroar, and they Mega Evolve Tyranitar and go for a Protect. I protect Pelipper while Arcaludon gets off a huge Electro Shot on Incineroar and does massive damage to it. Then I swap Pelipper for Sneasler, and I protect Arcaludon, which thankfully blocks Incineroar's Parting Shot. Tyranitar's knockout does actually good damage to Sneasler, and they swap out T-Tar and bring in Sinistra again, which of course heals up the Incineroar. With Sneasler's Fake Out plus Arcaludon's Dragon Pulse still takes down Incineroar, which is huge. Then Rotom Watch comes in and I double protect us out at the last turn of Trick Room. We of course block Matcha Gotcha, and Trick Room finally ends. Rotom protects, but I do not care because I am targeting down my Sinistra. We get a big paralysis on him, and Dragon Pulse just barely misses the KO, and Trick Room goes right back up. We protect Sneasler while Sinistra goes for a Life Steal to heal itself, and Rotom tries burning Sneasler, and Dragon Pulse finally knocks out that damn Teapot. The last Pokemon, Tyranitar, comes in, and Rock Slide lands on both my Pokemon, and Thunderbolt knocks out Sneasler from Rotom Wash. And our Arcaludon, of course, flinches. We bring in Basculegion and go for an Aqua Jet trying to shoot down Tyranitar, but Tyranitar's Rock Slide plus Rotom's Thunderbolt does knock out Basculegion, and of course, Arcaludon flinches. But now we can bring in Pelipper to keep the weather on our side. To protect, start out the last turn of Trick Room, and Arcaludon's Electro Shot knocks out Rotom Wash, and Pelipper's Hydro Pump knocks out Tyranitar. We win game 1. Honestly, I am super impressed with how I played that, and I now know the matchup really well. This time my opponent brought Escrow, and I make an insane read on turn 1, doubling the Rotom as Escrow goes for Protect, and we knock out Rotom immediately. This time they brought Mega Floette, but it gets one shot by Sneasler's Direct Claw, and my opponent forfeits. With that, we have now moved on to the top 4. Just 2 more wins, and this tournament is mine. We're against that same King Gambit Mega Delphox team, so I know this matchup really well. My opponent leads Garchomp, Basculegion, and I lead Aerodactyl and Basculegion. My Arrow and the opponent Basculegion go for Protect, and the Scarf Garchomp is a strong stopping attention in a Basculegion, and my Basculegion lands a huge Wave Crash on Garchomp. I swap out Basculegion and bring in my Garchomp, and I Mega Evolve Aerodactyl. My Garchomp takes Stopping Tantrum and almost knocks out their Garchomp rough skin damage. Then Mega Aerodactyl does huge damage to Basculegion with dual Wing Beat. Arrow then gets bodied by Liquidation. I bring in Sneasler, and my opponent swaps out Garchomp and brings in King Gambit. Basculegion protects. King Gambit tanks Fake Out while Stopping Tantrum goes into the fish. Basculegion Aqua Jets and Garchomp takes it, and King Gambit's Sucker Punch knocks out Garchomp. Close combat knocks out King Gambit for Sneasler, but at this point it's too late for me to do anything to win this. We lose game 1. I'm just 1 loss away from being knocked out of this tournament. So game 2, I turned up. My Arcaludon put in crazy amounts of work, and I made some insane plays and reads. Game 2 is mine. Then during game 3, I gave my opponent no breathing room and went straight offense. I won game 3 by a landslide. And with that, we've done it. We are in the finals of the tournament. Only 2 more wins and I'm the winner of the entire thing. But the problem is that we're against that terrifying Sylveon hard Trick Room team again. Now, I wish I could tell you that I locked in and won both games. I wish I could tell you that I finally found a way to counter that hard Trick Room, because that's exactly what I did. Yeah, I'm kidding, bro. I got my cheeks beat in. No matter what I did, I just could not stop that Trick Room from going up. Game 1, I got clobbered by the leads, and I kid you not, I lost in the exact same way during game 2. I lost the set 2-0 and losing the finals, getting 2nd place in the tournament. And yeah, it sucks. That was embarrassing, man. I got completely destroyed by just 2 Pokemon in the finals. Competitive VGC is such a hard game. It's so hard to be good at this game, but you won't get anywhere by giving up. So I can say with full full confidence I will be back, and one of these days I will win one of these tournaments. Then regionals, then nationals, then worlds. But until then, peace.